What's up, guys? This is Toad back with you for Thursday, April 17th. Thanks to everybody who was in the stream last night. I did an impromptu NBA stream with Clint Russell from Liberty Lockdown last night. We talked about the NBA playoffs, gave our predictions, and our predictions, I think, wound up being basically exactly the same. Even though he roots for the Lakers, I root for the Celtics. We both picked the Celtics. We felt that the Celtics were going to go the whole way. Hopefully that's right for my sake, although he's not going to enjoy that if that is the case. Let me turn up my mic a little bit here. I think my mic is a little bit low, but hopefully I don't want it to be popping, though, and it seems like it is popping quite a bit when I turn it on. I don't fucking know, man. Actually, maybe I'll hold on. Let me just adjust the settings here. Great content here. It's a short card today, though, so we will... All right. Yesterday was terrible. 2-5. I mean, Major League Baseball was the huge problem yesterday. Everything else was okay yesterday. Montreal Canadiens, they won. I stayed off the Vancouver Canucks, and they didn't win, even though they were winning 1-0 early. They never scored again, so at least that didn't hurt me. Miami Heat, easy win, and I guess I should have played Dallas as well because I assume they won, right? Yeah, they did. Dallas, I think, won in a blowout, and so did Miami. So I had both of those games right. Only was on Miami out of the two of them. Major League Baseball really hurt, man. I think I was 0-5 in baseball yesterday, which is unheard of for me. I mean, we had Atlanta. Spencer Strider did okay in his first start. It's just he got no backing run support. So that wound up being a loss. Chicago Cubs, close loss. Miami Marlins were in that game for much of it, and then they lost in the end. That one, they were an underdog of a decent amount, though, so that's one that you don't really necessarily need them to win every time. Seattle, Cincinnati missed by 1 run on the over there, mostly because Bryce Miller pitched really well, which I don't think was expected at all. I mean, his numbers against Cincinnati were terrible. His road numbers aren't very good. And then we lost to Patrick Corbin. Are you fucking kidding me? Anaheim gets 1 run off of Patrick Corbin. I mean, it was a forgettable day. I mean, it's been terrible. I'm almost back to where I started at the beginning of April, which is terrible. March was the worst month I've had ever in 18 years. And April was good for a while. We were up, and now we're almost where we started the month in April. So this needs to turn around right now. It's not going to happen in one day. We got to be selective here. Hockey, I don't have anything today, but we can talk about hockey briefly. The thing about hockey today is this is the last day of the regular season, so you really have to try to gauge motivation if you're going to get involved here. And I would say in general, you probably want to look towards teams that are not going to be in the playoffs against teams that are going to be in the playoffs, because the teams that are not in the playoffs, they're playing their last game of the season, and especially if they're the home team, you kind of want to look that way. Besides that, the teams that are in the playoff, I mean, the playoff structure is completely determined as well now. The brackets are already out, so I might do a bracket show for both the NBA and the NHL, even though you saw myself and Clint go down. We broke down the NBA bracket last night, but I might show you how I do the brackets. I mean, you'll know what my NBA one is already, pretty much, but the NBA and NHL is just going to be a complete crapshoot. But ESPN has games now where you can fill out those brackets, so maybe I'll do a brief show where I just show both of those brackets. Maybe tomorrow night, maybe I'll do it, because all the games start on Saturday. Anyway, looking at NHL, I mean, just briefly, I mean, you got Islanders at Columbus here. Columbus, they're probably a disappointed team right now, man. I mean, Columbus was the last team in the East to get eliminated, and they won their last 5 games. They were really trying to get into the playoffs, and they missed, not by anything of their own doing in the last 5 games. All they could do was win those games at that point, but the teams that they were battling also won enough games, so Columbus is out. They're probably the more disappointed team because the Islanders have been eliminated for a while. So in general, I would probably look to go Islanders in this one. And you're getting a decent underdog price. They did just lose to Washington. I don't know how many of these teams played yesterday, though. I'm not sure any of them did, really. There might be one team that played yesterday. I'm going kind of out of order here, by the way. But, yeah, Columbus, probably the disappointed team there. Toronto, I mean, they're in the playoffs, and Detroit is not. But I wouldn't want to play on Detroit here because Detroit had a nice win. They're maybe the only team on a back-to-back today. They won yesterday at New Jersey, who is going to be in the playoffs. That was a nice big win for Detroit. And this is not going to be a home game for them, so probably would, I am staying off of all these games, but I'm staying off Detroit as well. Toronto will be in the playoffs, and the line has really crashed on Toronto, down from minus 166 to minus 130. The Columbus line is just sitting at minus 135. So money, it looks like it is coming in on Detroit, but I'm not going to play them on a back-to-back, although Toronto does have playoffs to look forward to. Carolina and Ottawa both going to be in the playoffs, so pretty difficult to gauge that game. Tampa and New York. If I was going to play any game on the hockey slate today, it would be on the Rangers. They're up from minus 125 to minus 133, but 92% of tickets and 73% of the cash. So the cash disparity is going against them here. But the thing about this is Tampa, they just beat Florida 5-1. They killed their in-state rival Florida. They're going to be in the playoffs. And, oh, yeah, by the way, who do they play starting on whenever it is, Saturday, Sunday, whenever it is? Yeah, they play Florida again. So they're in a Florida Panthers sandwich here. And meanwhile, the Rangers, they're at home for their final game of the season, man. Problem is, they're returning home from a road trip. They also just beat Florida. And I always say when you return home from a road trip, it tends to not be that focused of a spot. Although, since it is their last home game of the season, maybe they'll show up. And they're playing a team that is in the playoffs, so maybe they'll be motivated. I see absolutely no motivation on the Tampa side here, right? Because Tampa, again, they're in that Florida sandwich. They're going to be looking forward to the playoffs. Rangers, nothing to look forward to after this game. So this is a game where I could see it going two ways, which is why I don't want to play this. They could be disappointed because they missed out on the playoffs for the first time in who knows how long. And this is like historic. I think it's been like multiple decades since we've had an NHL playoffs with the Rangers, Bruins, and Penguins all not in it in the same year, which is crazy. Those three perennial contenders, and all three are original six teams too, I believe, and they're all not in it, which is crazy. But so the Rangers may be disappointed for that reason because they had way higher aspirations this year. But they get to host a playoff team in their final home game and at least do something. But then again, they might be distracted upon that return home because they have to get back to home life, and maybe they'll just say, yeah, forget it on the season and not really care. So you could have two unmotivated teams here, so I don't want to do it. I lean to Pittsburgh against Washington. I mean, it is Pittsburgh's final home game. They have had a really bad season, but they've been out of it for so long. I see them being less disappointed maybe at this point than the Rangers. They get to play the top team in the conference here in Washington, and Washington's going to be looking forward to the playoffs. So I would lean to Pittsburgh in that one. And actually, maybe Pittsburgh is actually a little bit of a better look than the Rangers are. They're up from minus 110 to minus 113. I'm not going to make an extra play on the fly, am I? And this game, for whatever reason, is actually on ESPN. Pittsburgh just lost at home badly to Boston, so they might want to bounce back from that. Washington just beat the Islanders. They're finishing it out on the road. Yeah, I mean, I won't quite get there with this one, but yeah, it is. I would say Pittsburgh is the only way to lean in that game. And then LA and Calgary. I know Calgary is the team that's out of it here. The line has dropped from minus 155 to minus 150 on LA. Money coming in on Calgary a little bit. It looks like to drop that line down. LA is going to be in the playoffs. Calgary is not. So I said in general, yeah, you want to look to those teams that are not in the playoffs here against the teams that are. But in Calgary's case, I would not do that. I mean, Calgary, similar to Columbus, they finished off the season 3 wins in a row, 4 of the last 5. They beat Vegas to finish the season. Huge win. I was on Calgary in that game, by the way, because they needed the win. They were at home, and they were not laying a huge price there. So they sort of did all they could do in these last few games, and they still fell short as the teams that were in the wild card maintained their spots in the wild card. So Calgary, just like Columbus, they were still not eliminated until like the last or the second to last game, I guess, because this is the last game. So Calgary was right there on the verge of potentially making the playoffs. So they could be pretty disappointed here. And they're going out on the road for this one, so I don't love that either. So that's the hockey breakdown there. Not going to be on any of those games. Being selective. We'll go over to Major League Baseball. We have a short card because it is Thursday, getaway day. So some of these teams are finishing series. I'm actually going to play on teams that are starting new series, actually, though. Or I'm on one team that is, at least, because sometimes you can find a good spot that way. Arizona, Miami. I mean, you got two pitchers here, Eduardo Rodriguez and Edward Cabrera, two Edwards basically here. They are guys that have shown glimpses of being good and being able to be hard throwers throughout their career, but they've also been bad at times, glimpses of wildness. I mean, I don't know what to think about this game. But I believe Miami is on the verge of getting swept here. So Miami might want to try to avoid the sweep at the very least. And I would say Edward Cabrera, I would probably trust a little bit more than Eduardo Rodriguez in this game. Cabrera, a bit younger, and the pitcher that still has more like improvement that can be done there. Arizona, they might not pay attention to Miami anymore at this point as they won again yesterday. They got bigger fish to fry here, pun intended, than the Marlins here. They got the Cubs coming up tomorrow. That's a big series against the Cubs, who they actually already played to start the season, and they split that series. Cubs looking like they're going to be one of the contenders this year, so I would only look towards Miami here, but the money seems to disagree. 73% of the cash on Arizona and only 51% of tickets. Arizona laying another big road price here, minus 155. I mean, certainly they're the better team, but I don't think that's the way I would look here. And, I mean, I don't want to go through all these games. Maybe I could because there aren't that many. Rodriguez actually does have good numbers against Miami. 2 for 12 lifetime against them. Not a huge sample size there. Cabrera, like I said, he is a good pitcher, and he's looking like he might be showing signs of improvement here. His numbers are a bit worse, though, with sub-1 strikeout walk ratio with 5 walks and 4 strikeouts against Arizona, though he's held them to a 261 average, but a 958 OPS. So I guess maybe you don't want to trust Cabrera in that specific pitching matchup. Washington, Pittsburgh, the lean would be under here, but I mean, I have issues with going under here because Trevor Williams has just been a disaster so far this year. I don't think he's as bad as these numbers look, but he's not good. 7.36 ERA, 1.77 whip, awful so far this year. He had a good season last year for Washington, though, so it's almost like their coaches kind of resurrected him and found something. He was okay out of the bullpen a couple of the seasons prior to that, but he's seemingly falling back into his old ways, so I don't think I can do this, but 53 at-bat sample size, he has good numbers against Pittsburgh. 226 average allowed, 652 OPS. And Andrew Heaney on the other side has good numbers against he's off to a good season, a good start to this season. 18-4 strikeout walk ratio, only 12 hits allowed in 18 innings. And one of his starts was against the Yankees, and another one was at Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati. So not really easy task, although Miami is an easy lineup to defeat. Heaney actually just historically does really well against the Yankees for whatever reason. It's like he steps up to face them, but he's off to a good start this season. Good numbers against Washington as well. On 43 at-bat sample size, 209 average, 625 OPS allowed. Heaney, I would say, is the more trustworthy pitcher here. I'm moving my tabs all around here. Money is coming in on Pittsburgh. I do not disagree with that. Up from minus 115 to minus 129. 59% of tickets, 62% of the cash coming in on them. And the line has dropped a bit from 8.5 juice to the under to 7.5 juice to the over, with 69% of tickets on the over and only 51% of the cash. So I lean to Pittsburgh and under in that game. Not plays, though. Seattle at Cincinnati. It looks like money is coming in on the Cincinnati side. I'm going to stay off of this one. Cincinnati has flipped from a plus 104 dog to a minus 109 favorite, but we do see 64% of tickets and only 54% of the cash. So less of the cash disparity on them, even though the line has moved, flipping the favorite in their favor. So I do think Cincinnati might be a sharp side in this one, but there are some conflicting market indicators here. So I just don't want to deal with this. Emerson Hancock is pitching, and I think he was injured. So now he's making his second start of the season. His first start was a disaster. And I think I might have been on the under in that game, so it was terrible all the way around. Hancock, I mean, I tend to like these young pitchers, especially in Seattle staff, and especially that game was at Seattle, no less. Very pitcher-friendly park there. I tend to want to look towards these young pitchers that opposing lineups have never seen before, which is the case here, because when lineups have never seen the pitcher before, again, it's a little bit of an advantage to that starting pitcher if they have good stuff. The hitters take time to adjust to them, like facing them in a real game environment. But do I want to play on Emerson Hancock after he went 2/3 of an inning and gave up 7 hits and 6 earned runs and didn't strike out anybody and walked a guy and give up a home run? Had a disastrous first start. No, I don't think you can trust him right now, even though Cincinnati, again, is unfamiliar with him completely. So he does have that going for him. But he is pitching in Great American Ballpark, which is not a good pitching park at all. So I can't do it. I just got to stay away and just kind of sit back and see what we're going to see out of him. Brady Singer, off to a good start with the Reds. He was good for Kansas City the time that he was there. Started turning into a pretty good pitcher, and he's off to a good start this year with an 18-6 strikeout walk ratio, only 12 hits allowed, 17 innings pitched. He's only allowed 1 home run so far in his last start, which was at home. He's made 2 home starts. He's good, but his numbers against Seattle are mediocre in 87 at-bats. 264 average allowed is not bad, but he's allowed a bunch of home runs, so an 816 OPS. And in a home run-friendly park, I would be a little bit concerned about that. Jorge Polanco especially does a pretty good amount of damage against him, and Cal Raleigh. 8 for 27 with 2 home runs is Polanco, and 5 for 14 with a home run, Raleigh. So if you want to dive into the prop market there, again, if you find these like matchups where a hitter dominates a pitcher, again, hits plus runs plus RBIs over the total would be the way I would look if you find those spots where those hitters do well against that pitcher. And that's a nice like spread, like I said, where hits plus runs plus RBIs, at least if the batter walks, you're not completely dead on that prop. With that at bat, at least they can score a run if they get on base. So it's a little bit of a better way to look there. A's and White Sox probably would look under in this game. J.P. Sears is not a bad pitcher. I mean, as far as the A's are concerned, he's actually probably their ace, which is really pretty bad. But against the White Sox, he's got good numbers. 39 at-bats, 231 average allowed, 660 OPS. So I wouldn't have a huge problem backing Sears in this one. Davis Martin, a little bit more of an unknown. I mean, he's having a mediocre start to the season. He's had 2 good starts and 1 really bad start. Did well against the Red Sox, and I was on the White Sox in that game, so I did have a nice win in that one. Davis Martin was good there. The A's have actually seen him before in 15 at-bats, small sample size. He's held him to a 133 average, 467 OPS, despite not striking out anybody, as he's not a huge strikeout guy. So both pitchers have a decent track record here. Both offenses are terrible, and this is not at the A's very hitter-friendly ballpark there in Sacramento. So lean would be under in that game. Total is dropping, so it looks like it's moving in that direction. Down from 8.5 juice to the over to 8 juice to the under. So pretty significant movement there. 67% of tickets and cash on the under. Next up, I do have a play in this one on an under. You know me, I'm going to have unders a lot of the time. Giants-Phillies, I'm going to go under. And this is one where the public is going to look at this and see 2 good teams, 2 teams that can hit decently, pitchers that are not named pitchers at all. Hicks doesn't have good numbers this year so far. Sanchez does have decent numbers, though his whip is actually kind of kind of bad, which I'll talk about in a minute. But this is a game where the public's going to want to come in on the over here. But I think this is a specific pitching matchup where the under actually makes sense. The total's down from 8.5 juice to the under to 8 juice to the under. You can find it at 8 juice to the under in some way or another here. The bullpens didn't get that heavily used yesterday, so I'm okay with that. 60% of tickets, 61% of the cash on the over worries me a little bit. But I do think we're going to see a public over here, and that initial line move, not insignificant really, down on that total there. So I think that initial move might have been the actual move there rather than like a 1% disparity in the cash there. But if we look at the starting pitching matchup, that's where this kind of all comes together, even though I know Hicks' numbers are awful this year. I know that he's a young pitcher, could be improving a little bit. 2023, he actually had a pretty good season with Toronto, although it was all out of the bullpen. So I know his first season as a starter, he wasn't good with a 1.45 whip for San Francisco. Not good, mostly because his walk numbers were way too high. But this year, his walk numbers aren't that bad. 14-6 strikeout walk ratio. I mean, it's okay so far. He's had 1 really bad start, and I'm going to give him a little bit of a pass for it because it was against the Yankees. So I think he's off to a decent start this season so far, and I'll give him the pass for not doing well in the Bronx against one of the best offenses in Major League Baseball, basically, and in a hitter-friendly environment. We can give him a little bit of a pass for that, and I think he might bounce back a little bit from that start. And here's where it all comes together, man. Against the Phillies, we have a 38 at-bat sample size. And I know too many walks, 8 walks, 12 strikeouts. He's got to get that control under control. A lot of it was 2 guys, though, Bryce Harper and JT Real Muto. How do you pronounce his name? I don't even know. He's a real mute, man. He can never speak. I don't even know how to pronounce that guy's name, man. But they have a combined 5 walks against him. 158 batting average allowed to them, though, and a 462 OPS. So he has extremely low offensive numbers against him when he faces Philadelphia. So that's good. And then on the other side, Sanchez, he's a decent pitcher for Philadelphia, man. 3.12 ERA, really nice looking this season. So Hicks, by the way, I think he's a little bit better than his ERA looks so far. So the public is going to want nothing to do with an under in this one, even though Sanchez does have good numbers. I'm a little bit worried that his whip is too high at 1.33, which would indicate that his ERA should be higher than it is. But a 19-5 strikeout walk ratio is not that bad. 18 hits allowed, 17 to third. It's not really that bad either. His worst start was against the Dodgers, and we know the Dodgers, possibly the best offense in all of baseball, even though it is a little bit front-loaded there. They have at least like 6 hitters that are really pretty good on that, really good or pretty good on that team. He bounced back from that, had a decent start against St. Louis. I mean, he's a decent pitcher overall. He limits the damage for sure, but against this Giants lineup, 21 at bats worth. I know, again, too many walks, 7-4 strikeout walk ratio. 2 of them, Willie Adames, though, is one of the best hitters he's going to face here. But he's held him to a 190 average and 510 OPS. So historic numbers in the matchup on both sides here. Both of these pitchers have done really well against these starting lineups. Although then again, these lineups hadn't seen these pitchers before in some of those starts. The pitchers did have a little bit of an extra edge when they did that, but still, they have good numbers against these lineups. So I'm going to take the under in that game. And we've also seen this series go way over in every game so far. 14 runs, 10 runs, and 15 runs. So who in their right mind is going to want to take an under here? But again, it is also getaway day, so the teams might be sort of having that, like, looking ahead a little bit, even though this is a big matchup between the Giants and the, I think I almost said the 49ers, the Giants and the Phillies here. It is a big matchup for sure, but hitters on getaway day, I mean, a lot of times, sometimes you see sometimes you see these games be a little bit lower scoring because the hitters are a little bit less focused, getting ready to travel. You have to play again tomorrow. So sometimes some of the lineups have a couple of guys being rested in these games as well. I don't wait to see what the lineups are going to be, but that is the case there. Next up, I do have another play, and it is on Baltimore in the first 5 innings at a plus 106 underdog price. If you wanted to go full game on Baltimore, I wouldn't tell you not to do it, but I think first 5 is the way that we want to look here. You can get them at plus 100, I think, on the full game, so you can get them at an underdog price there as well. The issue that I have with going full game is that I think Cleveland's bullpen is better than Baltimore's, and they're rounding into form right now. Cleveland, again, their bullpen was really good last year. They were off to a bad start this year, but I think they're getting a bit better. Still a lot of good arms in that bullpen. And Baltimore used way more of their bullpen yesterday, so that's kind of the issue that I have here. Even though they won 9-1, the bullpen usage was way too high, I think, for my liking. These 4 relievers, including like all of the back end of their relief staff. Somehow they won with Dean Creamer on the mound. Doesn't make sense to me. Cleveland only used 2 of their relievers, and they only used Cantillo for 5 innings. He's more of a... He's not really a good relief pitcher, though, in my opinion. He was a guy that was in and out of the starting rotation, but he should be available again as well to eat up some innings if they really want to use him. Looking at the starting pitching matchup, I mean, I could see arguments maybe for an under here as well, but I think the starting pitching matchup, what we want to do is we're going to play only on the starting pitching matchup here with the first 5. And we're going to look at the specific matchup here. Tanner Bibby pitching for Cleveland. He is their ace still, but he's not off to a good start this season with a 4.4 ERA, 1.47 whip. I know he's had two out of his 3 starts. He's allowed no runs, but both of those are against Kansas City. He's only gone more than 5 innings, or at least 5 innings in 1 start. He hasn't even made 5 innings in 2 starts. He was very inefficient with his pitches that last time out against Kansas City, even though he didn't allow any runs. He escaped a little bit as he walked 4 guys. He threw 96 pitches. So he's not been very effective to start this season, man. And then against Baltimore's lineup, he does not have good numbers. In 26 at-bats worth, doesn't have any walks, 7 strikeouts. So that's good, but a 308 average against, an 885 OPS. So that does not look good for Bibby. And then on the other side, Sugano pitching for Baltimore. I know he's an older guy at this point. He spent basically his entire career up to this point in Japan. I know his whip is terrible, 1.57 to start this season, so his 3.86 ERA should be way higher than that given how awful his whip is. But he's a guy who's unknown to these major league hitters, man. He is a veteran in professional baseball, at least because he's been in Japan for so long. So unlike the very young Sasaki, even though I have played on a couple of his games, I think over on the Dodgers, Sasaki's a very young guy. So I think the mental component of his game just isn't really there yet. And you see him like crying in the dugout and stuff. No crying in baseball, baby. Sugano has been around for so long. I mean, you're not going to see him doing that. I mean, he's a veteran. He had a bad start in his last outing. I know he hasn't gone 5 innings in 2 of his 3 starts either, and his best start was also against Kansas City. His 2 bad starts were both against the same team, though, against Toronto. So I think what you could take away from this is, first start, he did get injured, I think, and had to be pulled early in that game, which was unfortunate for me because I think I had Baltimore in that one because of the unknown factor of Sugano. Then I could not do anything with him in that next game because he faced Toronto again, and Toronto was the only team in the majors that had actually seen any of them before. So I think that gave Toronto's hitters an advantage the second time around. So I'll give him a pass for that, even though I know his strikeout walk ratio is a bit concerning, 5.5, with 17 hits allowed in 14 innings. That is a little bit concerning, but I'm still going to do it here, as Cleveland, of course, has never seen him before. So you get a guy who's at least a wily veteran who's been in professional baseball for a long time, and a lineup that is a little bit weaker this year than it was last year, who has never seen him before. They could struggle a little bit early on here. So I am going to go with Baltimore, first 5 in this one. Cleveland is down from -120 to -117, although they do have 84% of the cash. So I am a little bit worried about that. And 54% of tickets on them. A little while ago, it looked like the cash was coming in on the Baltimore side. So I am a little bit worried about that, as it looks like even though the line dropped on the road favorite Cleveland, looks like some of the money coming in on Cleveland now. But again, I don't think Baltimore should be an underdog like this, especially in the first 5, when I think they actually have the advantage in the starting pitching matchup slightly, in my opinion. And I think people will think the advantage is the opposite because people kind of know who Bibby is because he was the ace on the staff last year, took them to the playoffs. Kansas City and Detroit, this is the first matchup that's a new series. So Detroit is returning home from a road trip. And, I say I like to look to fade teams returning home from road trips, but they did only go to Minnesota and Milwaukee. So they basically stayed kind of in the Midwest area. So they're really not traveling that far. So maybe it's a little bit less of a disadvantage for Detroit in this case. Although, again, when you've been away for a while, you get back home, you have family life to get back to. It can be a little bit of a distraction. Kansas City, though, they're coming off a tough series against the Yankees where they got swept. But they were basically competitive in every one of those games against the Yankees. So they could be a little bit tired as well coming off of that big series against the Yankees. Michael Lorenzen is pitching for Kansas City. He's pitching decently so far this year, 3.71 ERA, 1.24 whip. Of course, Detroit, pretty familiar with him, but in 42 at-bats worth, even though he has walked 7 and struck out 10, so that ratio is not good, he's held him to a 190 average and 568 OPS. So Lorenzen has good numbers against Detroit, and Detroit is in that dreaded return home spot. Reese Olson is pitching, and he is having a bad start to the season. Really only one good start against a pitiful White Sox lineup. He's been bad otherwise, but I gave him a pass for that start against the Dodgers. I mean, the Dodgers really good, obviously, and that was on the road. Not an easy way to start the season at all, but then he had a really bad start at Minnesota, too. So he's not off to a good start here, and I think I played on him in that Minnesota game. I won on that play because Detroit just, as a whole, they wound up coming back and winning the game late, but Olsen did not help them out in that game. He's got a 6 ERA to start the season, 1.67 whip. I mean, he's a young guy. He's much better than that, though, so I think you're going to see him return to some sort of form, like similar to what we saw last year. Maybe not as good as last year, but I think he's going to be better than what we've seen out of him so far. And against Kansas City, what do we got here? He's held them to a 264 average, 801 OPS. That's not great. 72 at-bats for a decent sample size. 18-7 strikeout walk ratio is not that great. 4 home runs. Bobby Witt Jr. has crushed him. 2 home runs, 6 for 11 off him. He had a walk. So, again, some hitter prop potential there if you want to go with Bobby Witt Jr. there. I would look to grab Kansas City as an underdog in this game, to be honest. Detroit up from -135 to -142. 82% of tickets, only 68% of the cash. The only hesitation would be that Kansas City's coming off that tough series against the Yankees. With Detroit returning home from a road trip, I do think Olsen's going to bounce back at some point, but it may not be in this game. You know what? I'm pretty tempted to add one more play here on Kansas City. I know I don't restrain myself from playing or on Kansas City. Let me see. What does the bullpen situation look like? Because we want to see if we want to go full game or not here. Let me see. So Detroit, what did they do yesterday? What are we looking at? Detroit only used 2 relief pitchers. They let Montero just kind of go in that game, so they did not use much of their pen. Kansas City played the Yankees again, which is a little bit difficult. They didn't use much of their pen either. Yeah, you know what? Let's do it. We'll have to see if Olsen is going to return to form a little bit, but Kansas City is actually probably more familiar with him than because Lorenzo was on Texas, so he hasn't been in this division, so Detroit's probably a little bit less familiar with him as well. I think Kansas City should not be this big of an underdog here, so we'll take Kansas City at plus money. Let me see. I know I'm playing too many games here again. Hopefully it doesn't come back and bite me in the ass. Let me see. What are we looking at here? Yeah, I don't mind what the market looks like in this one, so I'm going to do it. You can get Kansas City at plus 130 full game or basically about the same first 5 inning. Yeah, fuck it, man. As an underdog price like this in Major League Baseball, again, you don't need to win every single one of these. You just got to get like in the high 40s percentage-wise on underdogs at this price to actually profit. So, or yeah, like just below 50%, I guess we'll say. So we'll take Kansas City plus 130 as well. Fuck it. Yankees are playing Tampa Bay. This game, I mean, I don't know what to do with this game. Tampa just came off a series against the Red Sox where they just lost. Yankees probably feeling high on themselves because they're coming off a sweep of the Royals. Maybe not as good this year. Will Warren is pitching for the Yankees. He's a young guy. 1.14 whip to start the season is actually pretty good, even though his 5.1 ERA doesn't look good. He's been fairly unhittable, only allowing 9 hits in 14 innings. 7 walks isn't good, so he's been wild, although a lot of the wildness was in that first start. But, I mean, he could turn into a pretty decent pitcher, and Tampa's never seen him before. So I think Warren does have a bit of an edge there because Tampa has never seen him before. Taj Bradley going for Tampa Bay. He's off to a good start to the season. 21-6 strikeout walk ratio. Only 12 hits allowed in 17 innings. Very, very excellent numbers so far. Although he did pitch at home against Colorado, which is a pretty easy task. At Texas, not quite as easy. Didn't have a great start there. Although Texas, their lineup, they're talented, but they haven't really totally rounded into form yet. And the Braves really haven't figured it out yet either. That was his other opponent. But I'm not going to take that much away from him. He's off to a good start to the season. Yankees have seen him before because he's been in the American League East for a while, but he's done well against them. In 19 at-bats, he's only allowed 2 hits, although he's walked 3, but all 3 were Aaron Judge. So he's done well against them. He's held to a 105 average and 385 OPS. So the way the pitching matchup pans out, it looks like the under would be the way to look in this game, but we do see a little bit of a drop on the total, down from 9 juice to the over to 9, a little bit less juice to the over, but 54% of tickets on the over and 82% of the cash. 54% of tickets on the under, and 82% of the cash on the over. So some conflicting indicators in the market there. And I don't trust this Tampa Bay ballpark, man. Well, the other problem with this is that the Yankees probably have another edge because they're used to playing in this stadium because this is their spring training stadium. It's a very, very weird situation here where Tampa, they can't play in Tropicana because it was damaged by the hurricane. So the Yankees get to play on the road at Tampa Bay, but it is in the Yankees spring training stadium. It's Steinbrenner Stadium, so they're the team that's the most used to playing here. Actually, more used to it than Tampa is probably so far. So that's kind of ridiculous. The Yankees offense gets an edge like this here. And it's a ballpark that's a little bit more conducive to hitting as well. So I would really hesitate to want to play an under in this environment. So I'm not going to be able to do it. I would lean to the Yankees slightly as well, just because even though I think Bradley is probably the better pitcher and he's really starting to round into form, so I don't really want to fade him either. The line is moving pretty strongly in the Yankees' direction. I think the Yankees being familiar with the stadium kind of tips the scales in favor of the Yankees here. And that Warren is just completely unknown. Tampa down from minus 123 to minus 105. But 73% of tickets, only 70% of cash on the Yankees. So the Yankees do look like a public road underdog in this game as well. So kind of conflicting market indicators here. I don't know what to think about any of this. Very, very strange overall, to be honest. All right, and then we got St. Louis and New York will be my final play here of the day, and I'm going to play on St. Louis as a moneyline underdog here. This one, the market read is all over St. Louis as the Mets are down from minus 140 to minus 136. 75% of tickets on them, but 56% of the cash coming in on the St. Louis side, and I completely agree with this. Both teams kind of taxed their bullpens yesterday. So we do see cash coming in on St. Louis, I should say, against a public Mets team, and it looks like there was reverse line movement against the Mets. St. Louis, if you look, they did use their bullpen quite a bit yesterday to finish off their series, I believe, against the Giants. Or no, it was against the Astros, excuse me. They used a lot of their pen, but the Mets used even more of their pen yesterday as their starter only went like an inning or less. So the Mets blew out their entire bullpen yesterday against the Twins. So as far as the bullpen advantage, I think it still goes to St. Louis because the Mets burned their entire pen. And we're also playing on a situation here. So the situation, when you're like fading a team returning home from a road trip, that is a situation where you usually want to go full game on it because it affects the pitchers, it affects the hitters. It kind of all coalesces into a full game play. Mets are in the worst of the return home situations. They were out on the Pacific Coast in Sacramento against the A's. Then they came into Minnesota, played Minnesota, and people are probably going to think, the public's going to think they're going to bounce back. Because, I mean, the Mets are atop the NL East, right? Like, how can they not bounce back? They're back at home. They have the better record. Mets are 5-1 at home. Cardinals 1-5 on the road. That worries me a little bit here, but the public is going to be all over the Mets thinking they're going to bounce back. It doesn't work that way, man, because, again, you're usually a bit distracted when you return home from a long road trip like this. You got to get back to family life. And then the starting pitching matchup, I mean, come on, man. I mean, this is where we get it done here. Andre Pallante, I know I've talked about how I don't trust him, but he is still young, and he has been getting a lot of professional betting action since, like, last year. And I was like, why is that the case? I don't fully understand it still, but he is off to a good start this season with a 2.2 ERA, 1.04 whip, so he's pitching well. Faced Minnesota, Boston, Philly. I mean, not the weakest lineups to face. There's 13-7 strikeout walk ratio is a little bit concerning. Too many walks. He's got to, again, get his control issues under wraps there, but only 10 hits allowed in 16 to third innings, so he hasn't been very hittable. Started pitching well late last year as well. And against, who were we playing against here? Against the Mets. 38 at bats worth. He's done okay against them, even though he does have 7 walks and 5 strikeouts, so that's not good. More walks and strikeouts, yeah, a little bit of a red flag, but he has held him to 263 average, and even with the walks, only 2 extra base hits allowed, both doubles, 694 OPS. So Pallante has actually done pretty well against the Mets, and the Mets have Griffin Canning pitching. I mean, come on, everybody's talking about, oh, the pitching coach has changed his mechanics, so he's not going to be a horrific pitcher anymore. Well, I mean, I don't know. We haven't really seen that yet. 1.53 whip to start the season is not good. 4.2 ERA, not great. 13-8 strikeout walk ratio is not very good. 7 earned runs, 15 hits allowed in 15 innings. That's not good. Although, granted, his worst start was against the A's in that hitter-friendly ballpark. Although the A's lineup sucks. But that is a hitter-friendly ballpark. But still, his control has not been under wraps at all this season. He's walked at least 2 in every outing. And he's only gone 5 2/3 at most in his outings. Failed to even go 5 innings in a pretty inefficient pitching performance against Toronto, even though he only allowed 1 run. So it's not shaping up well. You know, I'm still looking to fade Canning, man, until we actually see that, oh, yeah, his pitching coaches have actually figured out how to fix him. I don't know if he's fixable, man. I could fix him. Yeah, I don't think so. His numbers against St. Louis aren't terrible, but he has allowed a 286 average to them and a 726 OPS and 28 at-bats. So I think we do have the edge in the starting pitching matchup with Pallante, but I think it all kind of coalesces. We have the starting pitching edge slightly. The bullpen for the Mets is completely burned out, and situationally, it's a bad situation for the Mets. So I think St. Louis has got to be the play there. And then Anaheim, Texas. I mean, these are 2 young pitchers that I've liked to play on, but at this point, I don't trust either of them. Jack Kohanowitz and Kumar Rocker going. I don't know what to do with this game because Kohanowitz, I'm going to expect him to bounce back. He had 1 bad start at Houston where I thought he would do well, and he was awful. So I think he will bounce back. His other 2 starts are pretty good, although his strikeout rate's low. He's not really a strikeout guy. 9 strikeouts in 15 2/3. He's allowed 3 home runs, but he didn't allow any in his last start, so that's good. His numbers against, who are we up against here? Texas, they're not good, though. 306 batting average, 741 OPS, not great. So Texas has seen him before, so he has a little bit less of an edge against them, given that they've seen him before. Was Kumar Rocker. I mean, he's had a rocky start to the season with a 7.94 ERA, or 7.94 ERA, 1.94 WHIP. Not off to a good start. 6.4 strikeout walk ratio, not good. And he's supposed to be a strikeout guy. He throws hard, but he only has 6 strikeouts and 18 hits allowed in 11 and a third. So he is getting rocked. Talking about Rocker. And he faced, I know you can kind of give him a pass pitching badly at Great American Ballpark, but then he did okay against Tampa, but only struck out 1, which is a bit alarming there. And then he didn't do well at Seattle, which is a pitcher-friendly park. He did awful, and I lost in that one. So I'm going to stay away. I don't trust Rocker right now, although he has never been seen before by Anaheim. So I think he does have a little bit of an edge in this matchup because Kohanowitz has been seen before by Texas. Texas does decently against him. Rocker has never been seen before. So I think there is a little bit of an edge on the Texas side. They're up from minus 132 to minus 152, so something drove that number way up. But we do see the money coming back in on Anaheim now. 66% of tickets on Texas, 86% of the cash coming in on Anaheim. So a little bit worrisome there, but we will see. And I'm a little bit worried about this Baltimore play now with some of the money looking like it's coming in on Cleveland now. But that's going to do it for me, man. One more time, the plays today are the under in Giants-Philly, under 8 at some money there. Baltimore in the first 5 innings, starting pitching matchup only at plus 106. St. Louis plus 120, and Kansas City plus 130. I like those situations there. And if we get one of those two, I think we'll be in okay shape there. But we got to start grinding back, man. NBA playoffs, I think, is going to be good, and that starts Saturday. So I'll be back with a lot more content for that. That's going to do it. Have a good day, everybody. Peace.